Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Badger Report. I'm Owen Desai.
And I'm Lily Price. This week has brought a lot of change, both at home and across the country, and we're going to break it down in the next 30 minutes. Coming up, we're looking into the farming industry to see what farmers are doing to stay afloat in tough economic conditions.
And later, a former Badger reads from his new book and talks about his transition from running to riding.
But first, we're talking about the 8 lame duck proposals and what they mean for Wisconsin's government now and in the future. All this and more coming up on the Badger Report.
This is the Badger Report.
Legislation that would slash the power of the governor-elect and the attorney general-elect is sitting on Governor Scott Walker's desk today.
Wisconsin Republicans took 2 days to work through lame duck legislation protecting Republican interests and making it harder for Governor-elect Tony Evers to pursue his campaign promises. Republicans debated overnight Tuesday, and despite protests by the public and Democrats, passed the package in the Senate. The Assembly approved it a couple hours later, and the legislation went to Walker's desk.
We're joined by the Badger Report's Taylor Palmby, who's here to tell us about the bills. Taylor, what are these bills about?
Well, Owen, that's a loaded question. Some of the bills were approved and some were not advanced. Some of the changes we can see are limits to early voting, where voters can go to the polls no more than 2 weeks before an election. Another bill would require that a legislative committee, not the Attorney General's office, will decide whether they'll pursue federal lawsuits. This one especially affects Evers and Call, who made campaign promises to withdraw from a multi-state lawsuit to repeal the Affordable Care Act and weaken the office of the AG. Another change would be the addition of rules that would hurt efforts by Evers to create laws and protect the jobs agency from his control. The governor has 10 days to sign the legislation. Walker has indicated that he will support it. People took to Twitter to speak out and for the legislation. Senator Tammy Baldwin and the Manitowoc Minute's Charlie Behrens are among those against the bills, while Governor Walker and State Assembly Speaker Robin Vos defend them, saying that they are the right thing to do. A bill to move the presidential primary date from April to March was not advanced, meaning that the measure is most likely dead, but could still be taken up by either the Assembly or the Senate. The move would cost as much as $7 million.
So Taylor, what's going to happen when Tony Evers steps into governor?
Well, Owen, Evers says that this legislation is going to bring more lawsuits and gridlock. It is definitely a possibility because right now North Carolina is going through the same thing following their elections. Michigan is also considering a similar move.
Thanks, Taylor. I'm sure we'll be hearing more about this as we head closer to Evers' inauguration on January 7th. The Federal Reserve says the number of farms filing for bankruptcy in the upper Midwest is up. It's common for market prices in the agricultural sector to drop from time to time, but in recent years those prices have been continuously dropping, with no sign of letting up. I had the opportunity to visit a farm that's feeling the financial strain not unfamiliar to many across the region. There are 9,000 farms in Wisconsin. Many are experiencing a similar situation to the Hoffmans. The Eau Claire City Council passed a resolution to charge first-time offenders only $1 for marijuana possession. Voters in support of the legislation, either recreationally or medicinally, smoked the competition. With an 85% majority, only 15% thought it should remain illegal. A Wisconsin Public Radio report says the change is meant to signal that the city is making enforcement of marijuana laws a lower priority. Today is Michigan's first day as the first state in the Midwest to allow the recreational use of marijuana. Smoking marijuana is still illegal in Wisconsin, and if you're cited, you'll still have to pay the $148 in court costs.
Marijuana referendums from the Wisconsin midterm elections showed a majority of the state supports legalizing marijuana for either recreational or medicinal purposes. Governor-elect Tony Evers will support a referendum to legalize recreational marijuana. Legalization is one of the issues the new administration plans on addressing in the upcoming term, which Governor Walker has strongly opposed. As Walker approaches his final days in office, one activist group is excitedly awaiting his departure. I went to the Capitol to hear how they're using music to spread their message. The singers will be at the Capitol for the rest of December and into the new year.
This afternoon, the nation officially says goodbye to former President George W.H. Bush as he's laid to rest in College Station, Texas. He's being buried next to his wife Barbara and daughter Robin at the George W.H. Bush Presidential Library. In place of flowers, the Bush family asked that donations be made to the George Bush School of Government and Public Service at Texas A&M University. The 41st president passed away on Friday at the age of 94.
Finals week affects all college students. For many, exam prep involves late night at the library, lots of coffee, and hours of flashcard review. The Badger Report's Jonathan Mills went out and found resources on campus to help students manage some of the stress.
UHS has a list of resources that can be found on their website, uhs.wisc.edu.
On top of classes and exams, students also have to worry about making sure their apartments and dorms are secure before they leave for winter break. The Badger Report's John Sklar will have more on how to protect yourselves and your belongings after we come back.
But before that, this year's Bucky Tuition Promise recipients talk about how the new program has impacted their lives as they wrap up their first semester at UW-Madison. Next on the Badger Report.
As any current or former college student knows, paying for a higher education can be difficult to manage.
The University of Wisconsin-Madison's Office of Financial Aid has recognized the extent of the issue, especially for families who make less than the average household income, and created a program to help students focus less on their finances and more on their studies.
2 UW-Madison professors are recognized by the American Association for the Advancement of Science for their contributions to science. Change Biomiom is an engineering professor acknowledged for the Association for his studies of material science. Donata Ortel is a neuroscience professor acknowledged for her research on cells. Eom and Ortel are 2 of 416 fellows elected to triple AS this year, which is the largest science society in the world.
UW-Madison Discovery is in the top 4 for Science Magazine's Breakthrough of the Year award. The first round of voting for the award closed yesterday, and the university's very own Ice Cube, a detector covering 1 billion tons of ice in the South Pole, made it to the final round of voting. The detector is surveyed by thousands of light detectors and searches the sky to discover some of the universe's most extreme events. In 2017, Ice Cube sensed the crash of a neutron, a messenger of cosmic events that ended a 4 billion year journey to Earth that links back to a far-off galaxy in the Orion constellation called Blazar. The second round of voting starts today, and the winner will be announced on December 20th.
As students prepare to head home for winter break, they'll be leaving their apartments and dorms for almost a month.
And if Home Alone taught us anything, we know while people are away, the burglars come out to play. The Badger Report's John Sklar has the story.
We've already seen a little snow and some freezing rain recently, so I'm wondering what else could be in store as we get closer to finals.
Our Jordan Hag is here to help us out with that. Jordan, what's the weather looking like this week?
Well, Lily, if for some reason you're loving this cold, you're in for a treat. Let's take a look at the weather forecast. Well, it was a fairly chilly day with partly cloudy skies, a high of only 23 degrees and a low of 7 degrees. Looks like it won't be too long before those lakes freeze over.
It seems Mother Nature has decided not to cool things down too much just yet.
Yep, so take advantage of the nice weather while it's here, and remember to stay warm and bundle up on the walk to those last few final exams.
Thanks, Jordan. Even though the cold isn't great, I'm excited for the lake to freeze over again. And with how cold it's been lately, the closest Wisconsinites can get to a pool is by playing billiards, which is exactly what some UW-Madison students did this weekend. Both novice and competitive pool players faced off in a tournament at the set at Union South. It was free for all students to enter the competition. Between munching on the complimentary popcorn and trying to psych each other out, the tournament was a fun way to hold off the Sunday scaries and procrastinate their schoolwork just a little bit longer. In the end, the top 3 in both the beginner and competitive divisions were named and given prizes.
Wisconsin Badgers former wide receiver Quintez Cephas was in court today relating to second and third degree sexual assault charges from August 20th.
The Badger Report's Jenna Webster was in the courtroom, and she joins us here in studio. So, Jenna, what happened today?
At today's arraignment, Cephas went before the judge and pleaded not guilty to 2 charges of sexual assault against him. These charges include one for second-degree sexual assault and another for third-degree sexual assault. The 2 alleged victims told police that the wide receiver assaulted them one night in April while they were intoxicated. Cephas's legal team has been unsuccessful in their attempt to get the second-degree sexual assault charge thrown out. They stated that they had evidence that would prove the woman involved was not intoxicated past the point of being able to consent. The wide receiver has filed a lawsuit against the university, saying that the school's internal investigation violated his rights. Cephas's lawyer denied commenting on the issue, stating that it is a separate case. Cephas was supported by family members and fellow teammates today, but did not speak directly to the press. Instead, family friend Bishop Tavis Grant spoke on his behalf.
He's a phenomenal athlete, has a great earning potential, and the only way that he can get back to the field clear of all of these charges is for this process to complete itself.
Cephas is due back to court in 30 days as his legal team needs more time to look at new evidence.
And Jenna, as you mentioned in the piece, there were some Badger players there to support Cephas in court.
Yes, Dakota Dixon, the senior safety, was at the court supporting his teammate.
Thanks, Jenna. We'll be giving you updates online and on our website.